recording.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Cookie Chat. I am Melissa with Missy P Sweets.
And I'm Chelsea with Rolling in the Dough AZ.
We are just a couple of basic bakers talking all things business, life, cookies, all of those things. And it is holiday time and we are excited to jump into so many topics. But first, Chelsea, can you tell these fine people what they should be doing?
They should be liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell so you always know when we go live or post a new video. We're just keeping you entertained over here on the YouTube. So we would love for you to join us as well as join our Patreon if you have not already. We share little tips and tricks and giveaways, and you get free handouts for being a little member. So make sure you check it out down below.
Chelsea, can you try and touch your computer screen right now?
Melissa's making fun of my short arm span. Oh my gosh. This is like
the alligator arms.
My T-Rex arms. Alligator! Yeah, I guess I never heard that thing.
Is it T-Rex? It is T-Rex.
Oh my god! Like I've never heard someone call it alligator arms.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to make fun of you, and I like
us short people. We don't have
tiny
long
people.
Our long wingspans.
Yeah. Well, okay. So if you didn't know this, my husband is 6'5", and like, okay, yeah, just standing up, like from toe to top of his head, he's tall. Well, oh yeah, and yours is tall too. So yeah,
but not as tall as mine, but yes.
I always forget, like, then they've got the arm span on top of that. And so we'll have things like 3 or 4 rows up and these really tall shelves. And I'm like, Mike, can you come get this? And I'm thinking in my head, like, he's going to have to go on his tippy toes to get it. It's just like, sure.
Yeah.
What's
I know.
like?
I needed a wreath hung up over our stove. And I was like, I could get the ladder out. I could put it up. And Tommy was walking out to get a drink. I was like, hey, can you hear that wreath? He's like,
yeah.
Here, totally. I'm like, oh my gosh, this must be so nice in life just to be able to like.
I know. We were on a trip with some friends, and we were staying at their parents' house. Their parents weren't there, and her mom was like, "Hey, can you guys change those front light bulbs and stuff?" And they're like, contemplating this whole thing. They're like, "We're gonna have to get the ladder out, blah blah blah." And then our friend Brad looks at Mike and he's like, "Hey." Could you reach that? And Mike is like, yeah. And they're like, this is amazing.
When we went to the zoo, we were in the Phoenix Zoo, the giraffes, like you can climb up and be like level with them. Mm-hmm. And so when we were up there, it's like, you guys look down. This is like what it's like to be as tall as a giraffe. And the kids were like looking. So then when I got home and I was doing Christmas and I was on the ladder and I was like level with Tommy, I was like, this is what life looks like at your perspective.
Right? This perspective, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like everywhere the light touches. And I'm over here like, I just see darkness. Okay.
That's too funny. That's too funny. Yeah. So I know that you've decorated for Christmas. We established this. Have you watched any Christmas movies yet? On the 9th of November.
No, I have not. We do keep that for Christmas, like the actual month of December. So we kind of do like more of the classics and all of that good stuff. But yeah, no, I do hold off on that until after.
Have you listened to Christmas music while you were decorating?
I did turn it on, but my device, who shall not be named to save you all, was not picking the best mix. So I kept like next. I'm like, what are these? It was like more modern takes on it. I'm like, ooh, I want classic. Yeah. I feel like there's so many renditions now of Christmas
there really
music.
Are. And I feel like my mom always said, she's like, if you could come up with a Christmas hit, because I used to write songs and stuff when I was little. She's like, if you could come up with a Christmas hit, then you've got it made.
What is your favorite Christmas song?
I grew up on Aaron Neville Christmas. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily know what my favorite Christmas song is. I feel like wasn't it NSYNC that had the one?
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
I had the NSYNC Christmas album. Yep.
But I feel like there's not that many new Christmas hits that come out. I mean, Mariah Carey is like huge, obviously.
Overdone.
Yeah, but like that was probably the last biggest Christmas hit, right? I'm not crazy, right?
No, they pretty much. Yeah, my favorite is the Kelly Clarkson. My Grown Up Christmas List, just because the words, like, they hit differently when you're an adult.
Was she the first one? I don't think
No,
she's the originator of that
she
song.
is not.
Okay, yeah, I was
No,
gonna say,
but I
I
like
don't think she wrote
her
that.
rendition
You
of
like
it.
hers of it. Okay,
Yeah, because
gotcha.
there's like a few like poppy versions of it. I'm like, "Ooh, no, this is
Yeah,
meant to be like a good ballad."
yeah,
So,
yes,
I do
that's
like that
definitely
one.
a ballad. You gotta get into the emotion.
Yeah, it like brings it out. So, yeah,
Uh,
we always
all
have
right.
those.
Well, we will not hold people in suspense any longer. Today, we are just kind of chatting, and we had some things on our mind to kind of chat about things that we've been talking about offline for a little while
Yeah.
now. So we're calling this Hot Topics. but,
Boom.
but it's just Chelsea and I chatting about our feelings and thoughts on some things and seeing if you guys feel the same way. So
What do you wanna
let's
start with?
just, I mean, okay, well, I don't feel like it's necessarily bad, but there's kind of like a downer. And then there's like some like cooler, newer things. So maybe we start low and then build.
There you go.
Okay. So we're in a recession. Don't know if you
Mhm.
guys knew, but yeah, it just really hits hard. I mean, I feel like obviously gas is going up and groceries are going up, but just like, why does it have to be butter and eggs and flour that have to be in that mix of things going up? Like, why can't it be like Brussels sprouts?
Ooh,
Like,
I
why
love
can't
those.
I do, but I could do without
Yeah, yeah.
if they
It's
are $10.
when they released that list of, like, the top 5 things that gained like, was the biggest increase, I was like, "Why
Yes.
is Baker's stuff, like, 4 out of the 5?" Like, add in chicken and
Why? And
yeah.
also, like, I just don't understand, like, why if eggs are rising, and this could be a very dumb question, but I am not well versed in how all this works, but
'Kay.
why are eggs inflated, but chicken is not as inflated?
Chicken is. Chicken, eggs, all of
Not
the
is chicken as much?
yeah, chicken's in the top 5 too.
Oh, well, then those do go inside, so that's good.
They do, because their feed costs more and
Ah,
their like, the farming shortages. I know, like, hay was a whole problem here in Arizona and the cost of
ah,
that rising, so, like, the cost to feed the animals to produce the
getcha,
product
getcha,
then gets
getcha.
passed on. That's why, like, butter and all of that. And then, I mean, I'm shocked red meat was not in that top 5
Well, yeah,
category.
and that's, like, another one of my things. I'm like, "Well, the milk is coming from the" yeah.
Dude, milk used to be like $1.25 and now it's like $4 a gallon.
Also, by the way, we buy, our milk from Costco, and we get, like, the 3 thing. Mike and I
Mhm.
do not drink milk, but I make sure the girls drink milk, and our littlest one loves milk. I bought it last week, guys. Why is the expiration date not until December 25th
Oh my
on milk?
gosh. That's really long.
What are they
Mine is
putting
not
in
that
milk
far.
these days? Like, what?
Yeah, mine is not that far now that I'm thinking. I only 1 gallon could last us like 2.5 weeks. Um,
Oh, because you guys just go through it?
no, we just don't. I mean,
Yeah,
that
it
much.
just yeah. No.
Yeah. But no, I feel like mine's every like 3 weeks it gets expired, but
That's what I feel like it should be, right?
yeah, I've
So,
never
I
seen it
don't
that
know.
far out.
Maybe I need
Month
to
and a half.
change up our milk.
You see what's in that one. Um, but yeah,
Anyways.
no, all of the increase of it and it sucks because like you said, and it has to come at Christmas time when people are spending money anyways.
Um,
So, it just
do
everything kind of
you believe the hype that there is going to be a butter shortage?
my thought is that they want people to spend the money on the butter. And so they're creating mass chaos. People are
Mhm.
gonna spend it on the butter. I do think they're gonna limit it a little bit more, but I do not think we're
Yeah.
gonna full on have a shortage of it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, questions on that.
I
Because
know.
also there's butter going on sale in our area, but they are limiting how
Is there now?
much.
Oh, okay.
So, which I mean, kinda sucks because they used to not limit like 2 per customer.
Yeah.
But okay, here's why I say that, because at the holidays, it has adjusted now because oat milk has become this huge phenomenon of a thing.
Yeah.
I have been lactose intolerant for years, and so almond milk, coffee creamers, when they finally came out with that, once you found your brand, you were like, "Great." But stores during the holidays didn't carry them as much because they had all of the plethora of flavors. So they would
Uh,
pull back those ones, and they were, like, super limited to find, and then they'd put all the other stuff out on the shelves. So I was like, I wonder if it's going to be something like that. Like they have the product, they can get
Yeah.
it, but they're just like, because then they also would increase the price of my coffee creamer, put a limited amount out. So then you'd like buy it all up.
Mm.
And then after the holiday, they're like, ta-da, it's all magically back.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's my thought. I mean, I did stock on butter.
Interesting.
I
I
fell
did
into
too.
it. I
I
was
like
not trying
don't
to be short.
I know. Pretty much like every time I go to the store or go to Costco, we go like once a week. I'm like getting 2 or 3.
Oh gosh, I buy a whole
Just
case every time I
I
go.
mean, I should probably just should at some point, but yeah, I'm also trying to balance like I also need freezer space for my cookies when I start freezing them. So, you know.
Yeah, I have to clean up my deep
But
freezer this week.
this kind of leads into like are you seeing sales being affected? I feel like across the board, kind of the gist I was getting from people is that Halloween cookie sales were kind of slow.
Yeah. So in comparison, because I do my year over year, so I
Mhm.
kind of know, I have two thoughts on this, and I don't want to be dominating this conversation. So at
Gosh,
any
no.
time, please
Did
jump in.
you listen to the pop-up conversation?
You have so much more experience than I do in this.
I need a rest, Chels.
um, okay, so my Halloween was down comparably from last year. And so when something is down, or even when something is up, I do try and look at like, okay, what was it? Was it my options? Was it
Mhm.
I take different elements in it. So one, I look at the dollar amount. So I know my dollar amount was down from last year. And then I'm like, okay,
Dollar amount is in overall sales, not like
correct.
what you priced your cookies at.
Correct. Overall
Okay.
sales is down. So then I look at number of orders. Like, is there a comparable in number of order amounts? And so what I found in mine is yes, mine was down. And I was like, why is it such a big drop? Because for me, Halloween kind of starts the trajectory of whatever happens at Halloween is the same trajectory of what happens at Christmas. And this has been
Mhm.
true for 5 years. So I was like,
Mhm.
oh, Lord, what am I going to do? But when I looked at it, is because of the price or because of the fact that we're in the recession, people are kind of like spending a little bit more frugally, or I don't even know if that's the right word to use with
I
their
feel like you're
money.
right.
I made sure I didn't price things high. So last year I offered half dozen and dozen options, which carry a higher price tag.
Did you hear that? That's my chair, people. That was my chair.
Melissa's making all sorts of noise over here.
Sorry. I'll be quiet.
So I did not have those high priced items. When I was working through my samples,
Question, real quick, just to
yeah,
clarify.
yeah,
High price meaning like not that you like didn't you
I didn't
didn't
increase the price, just a
lower prices
no.
to keep them low. You're saying you did more like singles versus
Yeah,
dozens.
so my
Okay,
highest
so
priced
price
item was
points. Okay.
$18. Yes, my
Okay.
highest priced item was $18.
Okay.
And that came about while I was doing my samples because y'all know I'm last minute on this. There was a thread happening in our Arizona cookie group for people who had already done their pre-sale. And they were like, hey, did you all notice like how were your sales? How was this? And the feedback that happened in that group was everyone said people did not purchase my options that were like over that $15 mark.
Mm-hmm.
Anything over $20 absolutely did not sell. So I was in the process of making a dozen option. And I was like, ooh, if this is happening to 150 cookiers that are on this thread, okay, I'll just submit that and not even worry about it. That's what I did. But my number of customer sales were the same. Like the people who ordered were
Okay.
relatively right around the same. My difference in the sales, I went back, is if I made dozen options and I sold
Mm-hmm.
them and I sold the exact same as I sold last year, no more, no less, it would have put me over on my sales.
Okay.
So I was like,
Do
I
you wish
didn't
that you
offer.
had done the dozen?
No,
Do
because
you
I don't know
feel
if
like
anybody
it would
would
have,
have
yeah.
purchased them, which will lead us into the next one. But Tommy was like, I mean, that's kind of always an option. Like I always do have dozens. This is the first time I haven't offered a dozen. And I
Yeah.
mean, lesson learned. I should have just offered it to see.
It's not gonna
Um,
hurt, I guess.
right.
Yeah.
But at the time I was like, ooh, I'm just trying to be like offer that variety to people.
Right.
And also this year have started, I did not do it for Thanksgiving, but I did do it for Halloween, is the individual mini cookies on the little place cards. I offered that. Those sold like hotcakes. So,
I'm sorry,
but it
the
was
individual cookies on place cards?
or on, I'm sorry, like the little
Oh,
backer cards
cookie
that say like
cards.
yeah, like happy
Oh,
Halloween and
sure,
just something super simple.
sure.
Those sold like hotcakes. And so I was like,
Mhm,
okay, but that was a much lower price point than
mhm,
like a pack of minis. So
mhm.
if you did feel like your sales were down and you have access to prior sales, pull them and look at things like that, because then that's how for Thanksgiving I decided my pre-sale options,
Yeah,
because I was like, oh man, I wish I would have tried the dozen at least. So
sure.
I made sure to add it in. But yeah, so it was kind of discouraging because at first I was like, I was just looking at the overall sale number and I'm like, what is happening? Did I totally miss the mark
Right.
this year?
Yeah,
And then once I pulled those numbers, I was like, no, actually, everything was adjusted. I just made sure that I offered a lower price point for
yeah,
my customers. So, what
yeah.
about you?
Halloween honestly is never a huge seller for me.
I find that so shocking.
Yeah, it's never, I don't know why. It's just I don't know. And I mean, I'm not the cheapest cookier in our area, so I don't know if it's just like not as like luxury of a holiday or something like that. And I don't think that people gift to teachers really for Halloween, at least around here, as much. But yeah, I don't know. It's never like a huge. I did great with boo bundles. I
Oh,
did
yeah, I
offer
forgot that
those.
was
I
yep.
offered those at an earlier pickup, and so
Mhm,
those did great. But I think mine was like status quo as last year, which is fine. You know, I mean, I think that's better than like maybe dipping. But I do think it can be kind of like alarming when you're like on an upward trajectory or
mhm.
trajectory, you know, and continue to grow. And then you have like a holiday that's just like not as popular.
Yeah.
So, you know, what did sell for me were the personalized options, which I know for you for Halloween, don't they? Are those your lower sellers? I
No, those
forget.
are my higher sellers.
Those are your higher sellers.
Yeah.
Last year, my personalized was not popular. So I don't know if it was, I'll have to go back and look if that was a price point thing or if it was like just a design thing, maybe. I'm
Mhm.
not sure.
I
But
did forget go ahead.
this year's personalized options were really popular.
I forgot that Boo and, um I did Boozed. I did Boo and Boozed.
Hmm.
Um, I did those separately also. Those ones tripled what I did in the prior year. So
Yeah.
that's why I was like
Well, and that's where I'm like kind of debating like, did people prioritize that
mhm.
purchase, you know, or a lot of people did Hocus Pocus cookies, which were,
Oh,
I mean, it seemed like those were so popular. I know you were kicking yourself for not doing
I
them, but
know.
I kind of just feel like people are being a little bit more choosy with when they're because we are a luxury item a lot of times.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know if people are just being a little more choosy with what they're getting it for. But yeah, I did well with booze and I got some additional customers from that because people did reach out and are like, I got boozed with your or I got booed with your cookies
Oh,
and
how
like
cute.
how can I get them? So yeah, that was good. But yeah, Halloween was on par for me, but I guess I just kind of feel like it was the start of the feeling of like, ooh, like what's this going to be like? But my assumption, even after Halloween, was okay, so people are pulling back on that. I
Mhm.
do think, though, that Christmas will actually be good because I do think if people are pulling back, then maybe somebody that they were originally buying like a $40 or $50 gift for in
Mhm.
previous years, this year they're going to be gifted the $20 cookie pack.
Oh, that makes
You
sense.
know,
Yeah.
or like the $10 gift card with the $5 cookie or whatever, you know? So I do wonder if it's going to kind of like maybe the earlier holidays were lower because those aren't as much gifting holidays.
Mhm.
But for something like Christmas, which is gifting, they're looking for elevated gifts that are still cost conscious,
That makes sense.
So that's kind of my prediction.
I do feel last year on Bood, I did like a little bucket and I did regular size cookies.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, they were a nice sale, but this year's comparison, like I said, it blew it out of the water. But I did stick with minis for the Boo, and I
Mm-hmm.
did individual cookies, like something in that sense. And again, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if it was just because it was like less, it was an easier statement to leave at somebody's door
Yeah.
than like a little basket. So if you had struggles with that, maybe think of shifting the design. It was just because it's so much easier to hand somebody one cookie than like, here's a bucket or a
Mm-hmm.
box of cookies.
Totally.
So, yeah, I was shocked. And I will say on my Halloween, Hocus Pocus was my number one selling in the mini packs
Oh, okay.
because I offered mini and then I did the three witches faces. But
Yeah. I do think that'll continue to be popular next year.
I wonder.
Hocus
I've done
Pocus.
Hocus Pocus every year.
It's a new
Every single year.
generation,
It is now, yeah.
So I feel like it's going to become, it's like how Elf, remember like the years after Elf had come out? Like that's just a cult. I mean, Hocus Pocus always was a cult classic, but now there's like a new generation that's like gotten into it, So I bet it would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always hard to
I feel like
predict
those cookie cutters are a good purchase.
Oh, I've gotten so many uses out of my Hocus Pocus
Oh, I'm
witches.
sure.
I use one of them for my Mrs. Claus every year.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart.
And they work for other characters and stuff throughout the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, those were definitely a good purchase to have. But speaking of that, okay, so now has your Thanksgiving sales closed?
Yes, they just closed last night. Was the last night for purchase.
How many days do you leave yours open?
I opened mine a lot earlier.
Yeah, I feel like you
this
did.
past year, or this like holiday season. So they were open like a couple weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And within the last, but I don't do anything with them until they close. Like I'm not like trying to, like I have caps on stuff, like things sold out and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, emailing or doing any of that until after they close. Like, so this morning I went through and like printed all my order forms and like did all of that managerial jazz that has to happen. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Here's what I would say. They actually did really well. And it's Thanksgiving and Elf together.
Yes.
They did.
Have you offered Elf before?
No, this is my first year doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, sales were great. I mean, definitely above last year. No, I didn't do Elf last year. So I think that probably helped, but I'd have to look exactly if like Thanksgiving is on par with what things like just the Thanksgiving sales are on par with what that was last year. But no, I will say like in the past just 3 days when I was like last call, then like,
yeah,
it started. I know. I was like, oh, it's going to be like not too bad. Now I'm like, okay, so I need a couple of cookie nights.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
But it's great. I mean, I love that, I get excited to like sit down and go into a pre-order like zone,
What was your number one seller for Thanksgiving?
Place cards. Always place cards for me, for sure. Yeah. I sold out of I think I've got like 50 something place cards or something like that. And yeah, that was number one. I mean, I think Elf is above everything, but yeah, place cards are a big seller for me. They always have been.
I was going to say, you always say that for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And I have people asking, they're like, are you going to do place cards for Christmas? I'm like, well, I guess so. So, yeah.
Yeah, I will say Thanksgiving was way larger than Halloween this year. And again, I did offer higher priced items. So dollar amount, it blew a Halloween away. Order amount, it was more orders. It was about 32 more orders than Halloween. So I'm like, but again, Elf, I feel like Elf skews the numbers because Elf is insane. I have over 100 elves to do this week.
Nice.
So think of me. as I'm
And
coloring
do
those eyes.
those have the same pickup as
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Thanksgiving? Yeah. How did your dozens do with Thanksgiving since you added
Good.
them?
My dozens almost sold out. So almost sold.
Yay!
I did put a cap on those
Yeah.
because I know elves take so long because I do elf faces. If you haven't seen mine, like the
Mhm.
actual eyes, the nose, so there's a million and one steps for them. So
Mhm.
I have to cap certain things that are going to be more detailed because elf
Right.
usually takes priority. I've had years though where like, nah, I could take or leave Thanksgiving. This year was my best Thanksgiving sale.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't ask me questions this year at this point of what's going to sell and what's not going to sell.
No. I know.
Because what I would tell you would sell doesn't. And like, it's just, for example, place cards, 100% sold out. And I capped those because I was like, these
Yay!
never sell.
Because those, yeah, I was gonna say those aren't usually popular for you.
But
You
I
know, I do
also,
have a theory that like people are hosting more now. Like they're just like gathering more because the
mhm.
last, few years, whatever. But
um,
anyways.
I did offer those though in one of my limited flavors. So I did orange cranberry,
Mhm.
but people ask for that all year long.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wonder if it's because there was only 3
Oh,
options in orange cranberry, if those were the ones that like people
yeah.
knew.
Yeah.
Um, so those my coffee cup ones, they did not sell at all for Halloween, but they completely sold out for Thanksgiving.
Coffee cups are great for gifting. I mean, I did gift
Yeah.
bundles of a coffee cup with either a $5 or a $10.
I didn't even do a gift card. I just did a coffee cup
Yeah.
filled with minis. And usually at Halloween they sell out. So
When
I
are
made
your
sure to
pickups
stock.
for Thanksgiving?
The Monday, the 21st. I did poll my audience and a large
Okay,
majority of
so
people wanted.
okay, so people aren't gifting those to teachers then probably because the kids are out, right?
No, only
Yeah.
certain schools have Thanksgiving break.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of school districts just go the 3 days
Okay.
and then they're off Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
So yeah, I was like, it was very strange. It was nothing that I would have predicted
Yeah.
sold. Like I offered my mini
I feel like it's
pies.
always that way, right?
Sometimes like the mini pies, the little pie slices,
Yeah,
the
those
mini
were
packs.
gangbusters for you last year, right?
Oh my gosh, I think I did 100 of them last year. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, they sold decent, but they were not even in the top 3 sellers. And I was
Yeah.
like, my gosh, I don't know anymore. I can't judge
Do you think
people's.
it's because everybody got them last year? They're like, "Oh, we want something different."
I don't know. I have no
Hmm.
idea. At this point,
Mm.
I just am
Don't you just
wandering the
wish that you could
forest.
have like a town hall after every sale and be like, "So guys, just tell me. I've got some questions."
Well, I do know like Veronica over at the Cookie Lady's Daughter, when she does her kits and stuff, she
Classes,
sends.
right?
Well, yeah, and she sends the anonymous surveys where you can fill out and it will say like what would you
Yes.
wish you would have seen. I've done those before, but then I was like, "Oh gosh, trying to manage these." And then sometimes I'm
Yeah.
like, "Do I really want
I know, that's how I am. I'm like, I would like to stay in bliss over here."
to know?" So, that was very interesting, but I will say I was really nervous about Elf this year because of after Halloween. I was like, "Maybe people aren't
Yeah.
doing this. I don't know." And I did share on our Patreon that I traditionally do because I do such a mass quantity and circle back after next week and I'll probably say, no, I'm not doing this again. The reason why I ended up doing Elf in the traditional colors is so that they can all be the same because the number of cookies that I do. But I wanted to try
Oh,
the retro ones and
yes.
like the brighter
Because
colors.
my
And I was,
tags.
yeah. And I was like, it was pretty much the pink one that I wanted to do, the pink and red
Yeah.
candy cane
Yeah.
striped one. But I was like, I can't just offer that. So I have to do the blue one. So I did both. And I mean, the pink rivaled the traditional as far
Mhm.
as my sales go. The blue, I probably could have done without the blue. So it didn't sell
Oh,
as many as I
interesting.
thought. So I think it was like the girls, everyone wanted the
Did you
cutesy pink.
only offer pink and blue or you also did traditional?
I did all 3
You
because
did do all 3,
I
okay.
did do all
How are
3
your elf sales compared to last year?
more
More.
than
Oh,
last year.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, by like 2 or 3. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like, oh
Oh,
my
yeah, yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
huge of a difference.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the color, I'm like, I could have done without the blue and could have just
Yeah.
done the pink and the traditional. But I also do offer 3 different skin colors and then
Mhm.
male, female. So
I ain't in that
everything.
game. I ain't doing all that.
Trying to be
I went modern, The hint
Yes, you
of
did.
elf.
Yes, you did. Yes. Yeah, mine are I'm looking at them right now because it's my computer is stacked on. They're bigger than my hand. So they are large and in charge cookies.
Large and in charge. Well, that's good. I'm glad that elf is on par for
Yes.
everything. Okay, so are we feeling optimistic about Christmas?
I am. I mean, Christmas is always my favorite. I feel like Christmas is just its own holiday in itself. But
Well,
again,
yeah.
don't ask no, you know what I mean, like, the amount of sales, like, I don't feel like you can compare Christmas sales to
Yes.
any other holiday, even though, again, I
Right.
use the trajectory of how Halloween is because Halloween is traditionally my second best holiday
Mhm.
for cookies. So, I don't know, ask me at the end of December, and I'll tell you if my tried and true algorithm worked or
Yeah.
didn't, but, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm praying it doesn't because, I mean, Thanksgiving, like I said, I could have taken it or
Yeah.
left whatever
Yeah.
for all the past years, and
I'm telling you, my prediction now I'm going to play it safe with doing like a heavy pre-sale with a mini pop-up, but my prediction is that Christmas is going to be huge because I feel like people are saving their money for Christmas and they'll make maybe downsize on a larger purchase and do a smaller thing like a cookies or something. So
real
that's
quick,
my
what are your
prediction.
top 3 sales, like, holiday sales?
Um, Christmas, Easter, and Valentine's. No. Sorry. Teacher appreciation,
Hmm.
Easter, and Christmas.
Christmas is your 3rd?
Oh, I didn't do them in order. Sorry.
Oh,
No,
that sounds
sorry.
like
Sorry. Probably Christmas, teacher appreciation, and then it's probably tied between Easter and Valentine's for me.
mine's
What
Christmas,
about you?
Halloween, Valentine's.
Yeah. Halloween is just not it's not, I don't know. My customers are like, meh, we'll take
I know,
candy.
it's so funny
I
when
mean,
people
they
say
hand
that.
out full-size candy bars, so how can I compete with that, you
That
know?
is true, your neighborhood is
Yeah,
on a
it's
whole different level.
insane here. Our neighborhood is Halloween crazy. So,
Yeah.
anyways. But yeah, okay, so our other topic that we have talked, and I feel like the moment that we started talking about it, it's just like coming up even more everywhere, are cookie printers.
Yes. I feel
I
like
kind of, oh,
we
go
can't even
ahead.
say the name, like, is it trademarked? Is it
I don't know.
you
We'll
know?
say cookie printers. Everybody knows what we're talking about,
Yeah.
right? Rhymes
Yes.
with teddy bear. Okay. Personally, I've had a journey. I've had a full, I think, journey about my feelings and opinions about it. The first time I
Take us
heard
on your
about it,
journey.
I don't remember the first time I heard. Was it like maybe a year ago or something like that that I first heard about it? I think that you and I talked about it the first time that I heard about it. So I think it was within like the past year.
Yeah.
So maybe let's say a year ago. I think you told me you're like, there's a printer that like prints on cookies. And I was like, what's it? I'm like, well, I'm not nervous. Like, that's not going to take us out. Like, that's going to be great for Walmart and Target, but
Mhm.
like, like that's for the corporations to use. That's not for cookiers to use. And so that was my original thought. I'm like, well, that's for corporate companies, like good for them. But that has nothing to do with like what we do. That was my initial thought.
Mhm.
I've come like full circle with this, and I've talked to so many people who have, well, not so many people, but I've talked to people who have them and use them, and I completely understand like where and how it would make sense if your
Mhm.
business is in a certain place to have one.
Yeah.
Um, they're expensive. They are not cheap. I think they do have a payment plan now, right?
I saw that on their website they did. Yes.
Yeah, so they have a payment plan now. Where it's not my favorite is if you're doing an entire like creative set
Mhm.
of just like, I don't know, like taking pictures of like the Little Mermaid and just like all of them are just like different pictures of Little Mermaid with like zero additional piping and stuff like that. That I'm kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, to each their own. That's just not my jam. And that's not what I, as a customer, would pay somebody for. If you're talking logo cookies and like a crap ton of logo
Yes.
cookies, Dude, I get it. I mean, I get it. And seeing the art that some of these cookiers who have it are creating, where they're printing like the logo cookies, but then adding like some additional details on top. Like they're still like adding these magical details, and just that I get. And also, it's I mean, you're a full-time baker, so like I
Mhm.
know that you understand this. Like if the money makes sense, the money makes sense. If you're having to turn down logo cookie orders that could, the size of the order could have paid for the machine,
Oh, yeah.
then dude, like, yeah, like that
And so
makes
many
sense to me.
companies use that for, like, their corporate holiday gifts and stuff, so, like, 'tis the season if you
If you can
have.
get a contract with a company and do like 4 or 5 times a year, like, yeah, like get on it.
Mhm.
Absolutely, you should be getting that. Um,
Do you do a lot of local
so
cookies?
no.
No.
No, I'm coming up on a year. I'm coming up on a year now
Oh,
of
yeah, of not
not
doing
doing
customs.
customs.
Ugh,
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
so
I've done
weird.
like here and there a
Yeah.
little bit dabbled, but yeah, it's been a year now of not doing customs. And even before that, like that year before that, I had transitioned into just kind of a different type of like style that I was doing, where no, I wasn't doing logo cookies. Because it just didn't mesh with like what my business was.
Yeah.
Um, but before, if I did it, then I was definitely doing like stencils
Yeah, I did
or
stencils.
something.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did a few logo cookies. I don't do them as much anymore. I did NASCAR cookies this year for
Hmm.
the Phoenix International Raceway, and at that moment, I mean, I definitely wish I had had a cookie printer, but I don't do them often enough. Um, yeah, but I can totally see, like, I have a friend here who has one, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, it makes all the difference when
Oh
doing that."
yeah. Well, and
So
I will call her out because she won't care. Dough by Mo.
oh,
It
yeah.
was the first time that I was like, "Holy moly, like, that's so smart." Like, the
Mhm.
way that she uses it is just so smart, and her mentality, and I respect this so much. She's like, if I it was a huge leap for me to make that purchase, and I studied it for a year. I was in the Facebook group for a year. I did the calculations and I turned down enough orders that could have paid for it by now,
Oh, yeah,
that
that makes sense.
it was time to take the leap. And so I did it. She's like, but if I'm going to pay for this thing, I'm going to freaking use it.
Oh, yeah.
So she's very tech savvy. So I do think that that helps,
Mhm.
because I mean, she'll like create the art and stuff in her computers, and use it. But she basically uses that instead of airbrush. I mean, she
That's what I was
uses
just gonna
it
say,
like an
is in place
airbrush
of a
machine.
stencil. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. Like, that's so
Yeah.
smart. Because if you do add up like all the money that you spend, I'm not a big airbrush person. I'm trying. I'm getting,
We have airbrush
but
tutorials listed here on the cookie chat
yeah.
if you'd like to check them out.
I have some set out for Christmas. We'll see. Um, but yeah, if you are like an avid stenciler, then yeah, like I can
Makes sense.
understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like there was a huge, like, we had posted a poll and stuff, and so I feel that maybe people think that there's such a, like, negative connotation, like, associated with those printers, and
Yeah.
truthfully, in our DMs, it wasn't. It was like, "That's cool for you. Just
Yeah.
awesome." Like, it's just like you said, a stencil, it's this. The only thing we heard is we wish there was a lower price point because, like you said, it is such a big
Yeah.
investment in your business.
Mhm.
Um, but
Well, and
go ahead.
let's talk real quick about why people think that there might be a negative connotation. It it has been said, "Oh, that's cheating."
Yes. That was also
And
said, though, when the projector came out.
oh, and I found this so fascinating. You brought up that point to me of
Yeah.
when, so explain that.
So when projectors first really came, like, there was a period in the cookie world that people didn't truly share if they were using a projector or they weren't using a projector. Everyone's kinda like, "Oh my gosh, you're just so talented, you can do this." And I mean, even when I entered into the space, I was like, "God, I could never sell these cookies because I can't freehand, I can't, like, I'm no Andy over at Kirky's Cookies. I cannot just, like, paint a
Mhm.
portrait." And then I forgot who it was. Somebody said, like, "Oh, no, that's a projector." And I'm like, "Why aren't these people sharing that they're using a projector?" Like, it doesn't take away from their
Mm.
skills because you still have to be able to, like, type a smooth, we all know. We have projectors now. It's mainstream.
Right.
And I was like, "Why aren't they posting that?" And they're like, "Because people say it's cheating." Because some of these artists are truly, they just changed their medium from a canvas or paper over to cookies,
Mhm.
and that was their way into this space. And then when projectors came out, y'all, back in the day, there wasn't always the digital projector because it wasn't compatible with every phone or computer. Like, it just, you had to have like dongles and this and that to change things.
Mhm.
Um, so they had the light bulb one. Like, that was my first one where you had to like print the paper and put it, and it would like flip mirror image onto your cookie. And it
Yeah.
was much more affordable back then. So when you were first starting out, the projectors at some point were like $300-$400, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then they became more affordable, just as everything does. Like, we know iPhones back in the day used to be astronomical. They still are, let's be real. Anyways,
Right.
so yeah, people just thought it was cheating because they're like, I can freehand draw, and that's what makes this median and like my cookies so unique. So now if everybody's on the same playing field, like, that's not
Mhm.
fair that you can just take that and trace it, where I've spent like time taking art classes and this and that. And I mean, it quickly died, but there was a small segment in time where people were like, no, you're just tracing. Where's the
Yeah.
art behind that?
Yeah.
So now it's, you're just printing.
Yeah, I mean, coming from an advertising background, it was that way at one time with computers in general and
Mhm.
the advertising world. And I mean, they used to literally like fonts were hand drawn. I
Yeah.
mean, they weren't created. Same thing with like architecture, like that used to be like an art form with pen and paper. And now it's like all computers,
Now it's an app I can download on my phone
I
and do it
mean,
myself.
seriously. So it's the same thing with all those. I think it's the same way anytime a new technology piece or piece of machinery comes out. I love seeing how creative people take it and show people how to like just take it a step above, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what we're seeing more and more of because I think
Right.
that the first sell in to people was, hey, like you don't have to learn how to decorate cookies. You can just use the printer, you know? And
Mhm.
now it's like kind of come out of it enough where people are like, nah, we can do more than that, you know? Like
Yeah.
we like, let's like really like see what this can do.
Yeah, my favorites
So
are when they
yeah.
use the backgrounds, like, you get, like, the fireplace background, and
Mhm.
then, like, they elaborate, or yeah, make the cookie more elaborate with using
Yeah.
royal icing and transfers and all that, and just using it as, again, a stepping stone to
Mhm.
create your masterpiece versus,
Yeah.
like you said, if you're just printing a dozen cookies and then, like, "Here you go, I'm
Yeah.
done." Like, I don't know, I love that. Again, the tricks of royal icing, it's not as easy. If you've ever taught an icing class, or an icing class, oh my gosh, a
Mhm.
cookie class, icing is the number one. People are like, "Why doesn't mine look like yours?" It
Oh,
takes
yeah.
time to develop, so
Yeah, for
I just think
sure.
it's a tool in the tool belt that people can use, and
Yeah.
I mean, there's always something to say about it. Just like people say hand painting versus airbrush machine.
Yeah.
Someone's always got an opinion on things.
I mean,
So
we have different opinions.
right, Melissa and I, even what we do and
I can't
vary.
do that airbrush machine. Not that I don't like it. I love the look of it. It just is overwhelming to me.
Yeah. So everyone's got something. Do not
That's
ask
right.
me to hand paint all your character cookies. That is not my jam. I do not enjoy that. Yeah.
Well,
So
I hope our opinions on hot topics bring up some thoughts and opinions from you on our hot topics.
just be kind to people, you guys.
I
I
know,
mean,
right? Like, give
I
some
don't feel
grace,
like,
man. We're all in this. This is a
yeah.
it's overall such a positive, wonderful community. Like, let's keep it that way. You know?
Hey, I do have a quick question. Speaking of the printers,
Mhm.
can cakers, what are they called? Is there like, we have
Cake
cookiers?
bakers.
Yeah. Cake, if you're
Yeah,
a
just
cake
bakers.
decorator, what is
I
your
figured cake decorator,
tagline?
I would think.
Yeah, cake decor how do they use
I
them? Do they use them
don't
on fondant?
well, yeah, on fondant, probably. I would imagine so. I guess it would be a question of the drawing, but I would imagine so.
Yeah, I wonder if it just was geared towards
Yeah.
cookiers. I have to look into
Yeah.
that, but yeah.
Mm.
Well, you guys, I hope we kept you entertained while you decorated and fulfilled your orders. But
Mhm.
I am Chelsea with Rolling in the Dough AZ.
I'm Melissa with Missy P Sweets. May your cakes never be dry.
And your icing be shiny and crater free. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Bye.
y'all.